I've done a fair bit more on the bow, taking more off the sapwood, you know, thinning the heartwood. Actually the twist shows up quite nicely in this shot. But I thought something I should do is try and quantify the amount of deflex before some smart ass says, oh, it's taken a lot of set when they see the final bow. What I normally do is lay it on a straight edge or put it with the tips on the floor and measure the gap between the belly and the straight edge. Well, we can do that. The other way would be to lay the straightest limb flat against the straight edge and see how far the other edge kicks up. I'll show you that in a second. Now that might be quite handy if you're trying to steam out the bend. So if you look at that limb's a lot straighter, so we could say that's the straight limb and we could try and bend this deflex out of this limb. But for the start off, well, we're near as damn it 2 inches of deflex. And my normal way of working on a finished bow is I say if you can get 1 finger in there, it's good. 2 fingers is okay. 3 fingers is excessive. So I'd be categorising this as excessive set. Except I know it's not set, it's the shape of the stave. So there, if I now lay that limb straight on the straight edge and we choose this way of measuring it, say how far out is this tip, you see it looks a lot worse. It looks like 6 inches. So you can see there's several ways of measuring something. And there's also the old adage, which I quite like, you don't fatten a pig by weighing it. So yes, it's a lot of deflex. I'll pop it on the tiller in a bit and we'll have a shufty see how it's progressing. Now the name of the game though is to use that deflex to help it get strung early, to allow me to tiller it, get it pulling back, and then if I'm short of draw weight I can take some of that out. Now I've done some more, taking the sapwood down, trying to work on getting these outer limbs moving a bit more, but it looks fat there, but the limb itself is sort of a sloping cross section, if you like. It's not like that, it's a bit like that. Trying to take some of the thickness off this knotty area, but again it looks thicker than it is. It's really only this thick, and it's that thick at that side. It's on a slope. The whole thing's a bit weird, and some of the pith line from the middle of the tree is still showing, although I suspect it was a bigger diameter tree than you'd think, but often the centre of the tree isn't in the middle, so maybe this is the side nearest the centre of the tree. Anyhow, I'll pull it a bit more. Perhaps it's about time I took it to 120. Have I got the bottle? That's the question. Have you got the bottle? Has anyone got the bottle? Well, it's New Year's Eve, so I expect a lot of people have got a lot of bottles. Let's see where it's moving. It's easy to be fooled by that deflex in the middle. But if it's going to explode, it's going to explode at that knotty area probably. It's nearly under it. It's 110. 115. 120. 120 at 26. Now, that string was tighter to get on. It wasn't, you know, I had to put my foot in the middle of the bow and just flex it slightly. So we're not braced, but the string's hanging down a lot less than it was. And you'll find that with a string like that, not hanging down a mile, a string hanging down say 6 inches, the draw length and draw weight will still correlate to how it is in the braced bow. but that doesn't mean you can just brace the bow and expect it to not explode. So I can't say it's there yet. Right, let's show you. So this knotty area there, I've dug that out with a tiny little chisel, and I think I've got the rot out. It doesn't go any deeper, so I think we're all right there. You've got the black pith lines there. They're irrelevant really, but they're a little bit ugly, and you can get splits starting from there. Similarly, yeah, it's a little bit showing there. Effectively what I've done to shorten the string, I've just wrapped it through my magic string ring one more time. But I think it's looking better. It's looking more like a bow. Slow and steady wins the day. So I started it in 2022. If I finish it in 2023, does that mean it's taken a year to make a bow? Blimey. Must press on then. I've had the bow flexing further now. I've pulled it to a full 120 at about 26 inches. But the more I look at this knotty area, it started exposing a bit here. I don't know if you can see that whole piece is flexing now. I think that's going to pop up and out like a nasty scab. But it's probably better to get it out now than to have it pop out when the bow, oh, there you go, and when the bow's near finished. So it's like I always say, you need to expose all the rot. It's not the rot that's the problem, it's the rot that you don't know that's there that's the problem. So if you can expose it all, you can see what you've got. See, that was a nasty little pocket. Don't think there's too much more. In fact, it looks like this little bit here is all that's left. It's like that's perhaps the original little shoot. It was going in that way, I think. So anyway, it's much better to have that as a weak point rather than leaving that bit of wood thinking it's strong and relieving good wood around it. So I can leave this good wood either side and see how it flexes now. Yeah, that was well worth doing, I think. That's looking pretty sound now. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can sort of see what's left now. I think that's the remnants of the branch or whatever. That's probably, presumably it was growing, sapwood's down at the bottom, presumably it was growing that way. Or growing that way, I don't really know. Tricky one. And it looks like it was perhaps growing this way, but I think we've got all the rot out anyway, so I can get that back on the tiller and have another look, at least in the knowledge that I shouldn't have any more nasty surprises in there. Yeah, viewing it from this direction, you can see I've still got plenty of thickness there, so that scab that's popped out shouldn't be doing too much harm. Again, look from this side, I've got a fair amount of meat. Yeah, I think we're alright. The other little marks are pretty insignificant. I think we've got rather a lot of depth here, or it looks like it, but in fact it's more like that because the bow's slightly angled. Yeah, a lot of bulk here, but again it looks like you've got a lot of bulk there, but as you rotate it, it's sort of slightly angled, so it's not as much as you think it is. Yeah, weird. I'll get her back on the tiller and have another look. Right, back on the tiller. That's where that big scab was. We'll give it a pull. Like I said, I've had it to 120. It doesn't look to be working pretty hard here. I think I've really got to work on getting the outers coming round now.